What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Season 2, Episode 3 of the Big Shred Podcast. I am your host, John Matos. Thank you for hanging out with us on a Saturday evening. Hopefully you didn't have something else going on, because you shouldn't, because it's a pandemic, so fucking stay your ass at home and watch podcasts and play video games and stuff, and try not to become an alcoholic. So first off, apologies for the lack in consistency in the pod. So, admittedly, I've had some things going on in my life outside of doing this, at work and shit like that, that has given me less bandwidth to do the podcast consistently and really, put forth the time and energy that I want to do, that I want to give the podcast to make it awesome and successful, and so that all of you guys enjoy it. So after this episode, I am going to be taking another little break. I did not anticipate it. I wanted to kind of go all the way with season 2, and I had a bunch of awesome guests lined up, and those people have been awesome and understanding with my situation and, just needing to reschedule. So hopefully, I'm thinking maybe in about a month, I should be back in a pretty good place to start doing some episodes again, but don't hold me to it. Again, just a lot of stuff going on, in the abiotic world as well, which, again, is taking up a whole lot of my excess time outside of my day job. So we are going to be kicking things off for the new album cycle on Monday. So 2 days on the 26th. So keep an eye out on the abiotic page. We've got some cool things getting announced on Monday. If you guys have been following the podcast since its inception, I've kind of given you guys like little Easter eggs and kind of some insight on what's been going down up through tracking and all this craziness that we've been going through, during the pandemic and trying to get a new record out. So it's been a lot of hard work, a lot of just new and innovative different ways to put a record together while everybody for the most part lives in different places. And it's been a super fun experience, but I'm very, very fucking stoked on how the record came out. And we haven't put one out obviously in five years. So I am just itching. We've been sitting on it for a little while. So but the finish line is on the horizon. You guys will be getting to listen to it and see all the cool stuff we have planned for it very soon. So again, keep an eye on the page. We've announced some guest spots for the record already. So we've got Scott Carstairs from Fallujah is doing a super sick guest solo. Brandon Ellis from Black Dahlia's got a solo on there too, which is fucking awesome. And we just announced a guest vocal spot from Cheney Crab, who does vocals for Entheos, and she is super sick too. So again, really looking forward to you guys checking the record out. So again, this is going to be the last time that you guys see me in this platform for a little while. I will still be bugging your feed, whatever, Facebook, Instagrams, with guitar videos that you probably didn't ask for, but they will be on there. And so you can go to our merch page on Indie Merch and pick up some merch if you want to support, and perhaps keep maybe an extra 10, 12, 20, 40 bucks in your back pocket for some pre-orders for a new record, because we would very much appreciate it. So with all that, I'm going to go ahead and bring on our guest for the evening and last guest before this hiatus, the homie Matt Perrin of Angelmaker. I can get it. There you go, Matt. How we doing, man?
Hey, how's it going? Good.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good myself. Thanks again for taking the time. Matt is also someone that I unfortunately had to reschedule on and was super understanding. So thanks for, again, being understanding and for making the time to jump back on all the way from the land of Canada.
Yeah, no worries, man. Not a worry at all.
So how have things been treating you? You're out in Vancouver, right?
Yeah, I'm in Vancouver, BC.
How have things been treating you guys regarding the pandemic and Corona in general, and how have what have you been doing to stay sane?
Well, a lot of us have just kind of been, the fortunate ones at least have been, working a little bit from time to time, and I'm one of those included. And mostly what we've been doing is just writing a lot,
Nice.
and we're at the point now where we're actually going to be going in the studio next
Oh,
month.
sweet.
So yeah, so writing, and that's pretty much all we've been doing as far as that goes. And we did have a couple shows being canceled, and
Shit.
yeah, as everybody did, and like tours and
Yeah.
stuff. But other than that, yeah, just trying to keep busy. And even myself personally, I've just been, doing a lot of guest stuff. I did some guest work on a band called I Legion,
Dope.
and
Is that out yet or?
yeah, so no, that's going to be coming out, I think, next year sometime, hopefully early in the year.
Awesome.
So yeah, but yeah, just trying to keep busy doing lots of guest stuff and working as much as I can.
Sweet. What do you
Pretty much what everyone else is doing.
Yeah. What do you do
Yeah.
for work?
I actually work in a music store as
Oh,
well.
cool.
So it's like, yeah, so it's like music all day, setting guitars up and selling guitars and
Oh,
stuff.
sick.
So
Okay.
yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
So you get to hear.
It's kind of like the Canadian. Sorry,
No,
go
no,
ahead.
no. Go ahead. The Canadian.
It's kind of like a Canadian Guitar Center kind of thing.
Loan McQuaid. Long.
No, it's the other one, Tom
Okay.
Lee. Yeah, but yeah, Long McQuade's like the
Long.
big one. Yeah.
Obviously not from Canada. I do know of Tim Hortons, so if we can talk coffee
Yeah.
and some double doubles, but
Yeah.
but that's dope, man. So you get to pretty much just like listen to people play Enter Sandman and like Stairway to Heaven all day. That's
Yeah.
sick.
Yeah, it's amazing. I love it.
No, I'm sure at least you get to be tapped into music still in some form or fashion, which a lot of folks in the industry are not able to do right now, which so that's pretty awesome. Did you guys shut down at any point during all this, or?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, it was in March. Around March, I was off for about maybe like 5 months or so. So that was kind of tough. And then with everything going on, people are not working, needing
Yeah.
money. You kind of try and figure out ways to do that. So
Yeah. Shit.
yeah.
How do you feel the response has been to the virus in Canada versus how we've been handling here? Have you feel like you've seen some stark differences in how like the U.S. has handled it?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, it's been okay here. I mean, it's been kind of scary in certain areas, and I mean, I don't know. It's kind of hard to compare, like since I live here, so most of the news that I've seen is
Right,
from
right.
here. But in comparison, I know it's handled pretty differently. Not to say like one's worse than the other, but
It's worse here, dude. Don't
I think it's
don't even front.
yeah. But I think they've handled it pretty well, and I think from what it is, like you can only do so much, and I think from what they have done, it's been contained pretty well.
Yeah, well, that's good to hear. Yeah, we're still trying to get our shit together, and I don't know. I don't know what it's going to be looking like over the next 6 months, over the next year. I mean, putting out a record. It's interesting times, man. But I think,
Yeah.
hopefully getting through this, some folks, like us and, even potentially you guys, if you guys are getting in the studio, you'll be able to say you put out a record in a pandemic like this and found ways to get creative and still make music and, still do what we love and not let something like that slow us down,
Yeah, it's pretty much all you can do right now, and it's kind of cool to say you can, oh, I did a record during a
Right.
pandemic. It's like, well, who else can say they've done that?
Yeah, exactly. And then fucking like guys like Dahlia who charted in a big way, which
Yeah.
I was talking with Alan on a previous episode, and he said, in part to the pandemic, that it's people are just hungry for entertainment, hungry for new things, or people are more if it was even possible, more focused on social media than before, and just being able to fill those gaps a little bit, which is kind of what we talked about when we were talking about putting out a new record. It's like, it's been 5 years and it just so happens like this is happening now. So we can't do a normal record cycle like we typically would? Do we still do it? Do we not do it? What are your thoughts
Yeah.
on that? Do you think it's beneficial for a band to do a record now? Do you, or you know, or on the other side of the fence, do you think, you know, some bands should wait?
Yeah, I mean, I think it could be really beneficial. I think, since a lot of people are still at home and some people are quarantined, some people literally can't leave the house. It's like, well, you have to try and find ways to keep sane. And, if a band you love is putting out a new album during this time, I think that's kind of perfect in a way. Gives them some substance and, is a lot of bands that can do that during the time, I think would be beneficial.
Yeah, yeah, agreed. That's
Yeah.
it's where we
Yeah.
ended up. I mean, you know, it's like
Yeah.
maybe there's some bands that are on the fence and are holding off, so there's not as much competition. Um, so it's
Hmm.
definitely got its pros and its cons, but if I'm honest, I would not have been able to wait personally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just how I work, I'm having trouble not sending this album to just like everybody I know right now. So, um, so
That's the tough part about making a new
yeah,
album
it is.
too.
So you mentioned you guys had some shows and some tours canceled and stuff. Anything that you can talk about that like was announced or?
Um, I mean, it was mostly just kind of shows here and there. Nothing too big that I can, off the top of my head,
Yeah.
remember. I know we have that one in January still. Who knows if that's going to happen with Shadow of Intent in
Oh shit,
Europe.
that's right.
So, yeah, so I'm not sure really as of right what's going to happen, but I mean, it's announced and we're hopefully by that time going to be able to do it, but
Yeah.
who knows at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I hope so too, man. I obviously like that is going to be, you know, if it happens, fucking super killer. Like they are blowing the fuck up. They're such a good band,
Yeah.
and I know that their last tour here in the U.S., their headliner was awesome. So was super stoked to see them heading out there and doing some headlining and saw the dates and I was like, yeah, you know, I think that's really the only move that we've got right now, which is just book some dates and be optimistic, but also be realistic, you know, like tell the fans like,
Yeah.
hey, we've got contingencies in the works where if, you know, this can't happen, don't worry about it.
Hmm.
But if it can happen, we'll fucking see you there. And
Hmm.
yeah, I've seen a lot of other bands doing that, and I think as long as you're upfront with your, you know, the fans or the folks you guys want coming out to those shows, that's the move. You know, I've seen
Yeah.
like all those summer fests are still being booked and stuff, so I really hope it happens. And I personally think that Europe is where it's going to happen first anyway.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think when it does come back, it has the potential to be bigger than ever
Yeah.
because I think people are just going to be so hungry to
Oh yeah.
see live music again. It's just going to be ridiculous
Yeah.
with like
Those
hundreds of bands touring at the time.
exactly. Yeah. That's another whole thing that it's, you know, I can't wait to see it. I know, you know, people, bands, fans are going to be super hungry for shows, and there's going to be a show once it's every day, like so
Yeah.
in your
Yeah,
city
pretty
every
much.
single day, because you know once it's safe,
Yeah.
I'm sure, you know, but that's going to be one of the challenges of things getting back to normal is, you know, oversaturation, you
Hmm.
know, if who's going to be, you know, the first bands to do it as well is you know, kind of
Yeah.
a frequent question on the show. It's like are the bigger bands that can kind of afford to wait it out just going to let the smaller bands be like some guinea pigs and like you guys do it, and if something bad happens you guys catch the flack and like, you know, or
Yeah.
you know, are they going to be the ones to kind of start it off because they're playing the bigger venues that have capacity for social distancing, but you can still have a fair amount of people in there, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. So I don't know. It could be like what you're saying, a lot of the smaller bands doing it first and then the bigger bands kind of holding back. But yeah, I guess, I mean, the industry is going to be so crazy by that
Yeah.
point. I, it's hard to say, really. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, another interesting thing to consider in that, you know, what we were discussing, putting out a record and, you know, shows in general. It's like, you know, generally you're on a tour during record release, which helps with record sales, you know, and also it really depends, right? Like if you can only have so many people at a show, if there's the venues are going to be limiting, capacity or whatever it is. There's a lot of those things that
Yeah.
were part of the machine on how to tell how big a band is, or like how much they're worth, or what kind of offers they're going to get. And those things now, as a measurement of your band, are it's now skewed. Like how do you
Mm.
measure how well a band is doing on their headliner, on their shows? How do you measure how well do you alter? Is the industry altering their expectations?
Yeah, definitely. I think that'll be interesting to see, and like who's going to be touring with who. Maybe you'll have like some cross genre
Yeah.
stuff, even just to even fill venues at certain
Yep.
points. So yeah, yeah, it'll be it'll be interesting for
That'll
sure.
be cool. And yeah, I think it's just going to take
Yeah.
creativity on the band's parts, on agents, on labels, and I just hope folks are kind of tapering their expectations, or the powers that be in the industry are a little forward thinking, because if they're not, it's gonna be an interesting time.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So you guys put out a self-titled release last year, which again, I was letting you know earlier, I was jamming today, which is super sick. I think I first had seen you guys, like your name. I think it was 2017. When you guys were on Slaughter, and then I started like seeing your name
Yeah.
everywhere. And then that record came out, and I was like, damn, these guys are fucking awesome. So what was
Thanks,
yeah,
man.
yeah, for sure. What was the reception of that record, and how do you guys, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, we're all really proud of just every record we've done, but I think like as far as the newest one, that was, you know, our most, I guess, most proud of album that we have done. I think it just definitely has that Angelmaker sound still, and just kind of pushing it to the next level. And I think that's what we always have tried to
Yeah,
do. Um, and yeah, I think the reception was really good for it. We were really happy to see fans still liking it and not saying like, "Oh, you changed too
yeah,
much." And ultimately, we write everything for us,
for sure.
anyways. And if people like it, that's great. And we were just we were stoked about it, and we did some tours after that, and the tours are great. And yeah, even Summer Slaughter back then, that was 2017. That was, I think, still to this day, my favorite tour we've
Awesome.
done.
Yeah, yeah. We were
Yeah.
talking earlier, before we jumped on, that was the Nocturnal 10-year anniversary, and I'm like fucking way jealous, dude. That must have been so sick.
Yeah. Yeah, that was really kind of a surprise to us too, because we weren't originally on the
Oh no.
tour, and we were in a voting, like a fan voting
Oh yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah.
And there was, yeah, and that was really, it was kind of like, oh, I don't know if we're gonna win. Like there's no way there's such huge bands on big labels and stuff
Yeah.
on here. And I remember getting word that we did, and I was like, no way, there's no way that we won out of all these bands. And just so happened we did. So it was a, it was a pretty intense thing for us, because I think that at that point we didn't really do any huge tours at that
Yeah.
point. So we did a couple headliners, and then that was kind of like our biggest tour at the
That's fucking
time.
awesome, dude.
And
What an
that was,
opportunity, man.
yeah, it was amazing. And still, like, I still remember how great that whole tour was. Like every show was amazing. All the bands on the tour were great. Like we made so many
Yeah.
friends, and it was definitely something to remember for the rest of our life.
Killer, dude. Yeah, yeah, that's huge. We
Yeah.
were actually in one of those voting things. I think it was like 2014 or 20. I think it was 2013, 2014. And it
Hmm.
was. I remember a few bands on it. It was us. It was Cerebral Bore. Um,
Oh yeah.
Dark Sermon, I think, was on there. Thy Art is
Hmm.
Murder and Rings of Saturn, when they were like
Holy.
still, getting voted onto the tour. And then, you look years later, and, Thy Art is like 7 of 10 or
Massive.
something, like
Yeah.
huge. And then obviously
Yeah.
Rings is super huge. And So yeah, it's been, that was pretty fun. And I think the year that we were in the voting is when they stopped doing something called the Slaughter Survivors Tour. So what they did was
Oh,
they all the bands that didn't win, they put them on a tour, which is pretty
okay.
cool. They did that once. It was like the Contortionist, Fallujah, and I forget who else it was, but I saw one of those, and that was pretty sick. But I don't know why they stopped doing it. I think that was a pretty cool idea.
Huh. Yeah, that was a cool idea. Yeah.
But dude, that super sick. Obviously for bands in our genre, Slaughter is like one of those big milestones.
Hmm.
So what were did you guys learn some big lessons on that tour? Because when you do like your first big boy tour, it's like
Yeah.
there's some lessons that you learn. So it's like don't go into the headliner green room unless like you're
Yeah.
invited. Fucking
Yeah.
don't get there too early. Also, don't get there late. Right.
Hmm. Yeah.
we'll
Oh
get
yeah, definitely that, and get your shit off stage as fast as possible.
Oh, that's the other big lesson. Like literally throw your gear off of the stage and who cares what happens to
Yeah, pretty much. I think that
it.
was the biggest lesson for us. We got our ass kicked a few times
Yeah.
just because we had, at the time we were like kind of a newer band
Yeah.
too. So I think that kind of whipped us into shape pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are some tough ones that, you don't realize like how much of a real machine those tours are, and how they have to be a machine for them to work smoothly because there's so many bands on it. And your set's going to get cut short, and too bad. So if you want to play
Hmm.
a full set and you want to have a good time and put yourself out to that audience, you got to fucking like be on point with pretty much everything.
Yeah.
So what are some favorite shows, or just some big moments that you can remember from the tour?
Definitely Palladium
Oh,
was
sweet.
one of the big ones. Yeah, just I remember seeing that Kill Switch DVD that was filmed there, and
Yeah.
that was kind of surreal to see that. Few LA shows were really awesome. We played some venues. There was a couple I think that I saw. Like one I saw Yngwie Malmsteen at, and then
Oh,
I
nice.
remember we played there, and that was very surreal too. Um, but just I think entirely that entire tour, there was a few shows that stuck out for sure. Dallas was crazy. That was one of the biggest shows I think.
At
It was
Trees.
a Gas
Oh,
Monkey,
Gas Monkey.
Gas
Okay.
Monkey live. Yeah, like the big one. There's like two, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah.
Yeah, so it was at the big one, and that was really awesome seeing
Sick.
so many people there. But yeah, that entire tour was amazing, and I would definitely do that again if I had the chance.
Awesome. Yeah, yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And you guys had some van trouble on that tour?
Yeah, it seems like we have had like the worst luck with vans over the years, and um, yeah, I think we that was the last tour we did in our first van, and pretty much survived the entire tour right until the very end
Yeah.
of the last show, and we were driving it back, and it ended up dying pretty much almost completely.
Ugh.
So yeah, so it pretty much croaked after that tour. So that was the time to get a new one after that. So
Yeah.
luckily we did.
I certainly know that feeling. So, the whole misery loves company thing, you and I are about to become best friends. So in
Yeah.
in the career, you know, minus us, taking some time off. So we had been touring, what we could consider full time for about 5 or 6 years. We
Mm.
went through 4 vans.
Oh
Yeah.
man,
So
it's a lot.
pretty much anything that could have gone wrong in a van happened to us. So we had one van where the rear axle, we were in upstate New York, and the rear axle like broke.
Oh
So we
yeah.
had to, we were stranded in New York and had to like find a van on Craigslist and like beg our families for money to be able to be
Holy
able to make it
shit.
home. We had the heater core of our air conditioner break once. And what
Oh,
happened there is it was in the winter, and coolant from the van started leaking into the van. So like our
Oh
front
no.
passenger seat was like soaked with coolant. So there's pictures of us with the windows down on the highway because we don't want to die from like coolant fumes, and shirts all over our faces because it's so cold. So it's like
Oh
40, it's like
yeah.
40 degrees. We're on the highway doing 60, 65, trying to get to the next show with just coolant leaking into the car.
And
Um,
the windows all the way down.
yep, windows all the way down. And like I said, I've got so many, but one other one that was, again, just one of those big ones is we had our I think it was our water pump. We had our water pump go as we were driving, like probably like on the way to load in, like a 4 o'clock load in or something. So it was a Friday in traffic in Arizona, and the water pump goes, and I'm co-pilot. Matt, our guitar player, is driving, and the steering wheel just like locks up
Oh
on a
no.
highway in traffic. So like him and I are like hitting the steering wheel to try and get it to nudge to go left for us to be able to like get out from the middle lane that we're in on the highway to be able to pull over. And then it's just like Arizona heat, so we're just like stranded on a highway in Arizona, and it's like
Oh
blistering.
my God.
So if it makes you feel any better, we also potentially bankrupted ourselves trying to tour in very shitty vans. So
Yeah.
I've said it on the podcast before. Advice that I would give to anybody trying to do what we do is invest into a reliable vehicle. It's worth
Yes.
the investment very, very, like very much.
Yeah, definitely. Because you're gonna end up paying more, like pretty much for repairs and anything to fix it at that
Right.
point. And then you have to buy another one too.
Exactly. I
So
know it's a kind of easier
yeah,
said than done kind of thing because we were a bunch of broke guys, just like, hey, all we can afford to be able to tour is a $2,000 van, so that's what we're gonna do. But
yeah,
I wouldn't recommend it.
yeah.
uh,
If you can get a good van, do it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Or
Because I remember even a funny thing that I remember from our first, I think one of our first headliners that we did was we were driving down the road and I guess our lug nuts were too tight and our wheel stripped and flew off while we were going down the highway.
whoa,
And I think it was either Cole or Colton driving, and they said they looked in the the side mirror and just see this black thing going flying up, and they're like, "What the hell was that?" And all of a sudden, the van tips to the side, and
oh,
we're
dude,
grinding on the road. Yeah,
fuck.
so we kind of like grinded over to the side of the road, and we're like, "Holy shit!" And we ran down the. It was pretty crazy at the time.
Holy shit! You went and
Yeah,
grabbed the
that
wheel.
was also a funny moment. Yeah, we went and grabbed the wheel and the lug nuts, and they're still on the wheel, but it's completely stripped off of
Whoa,
the
dude!
actual.
Holy
But
shit!
yeah, we missed that show. So
Those moments are funny in retrospect, but it's never funny at the
yeah,
time. But yeah, I mean,
no,
I don't know, I can tell you probably at least a dozen times where I've been in the van while the van's been connected to a tow truck, or just like inside of a tow truck. Just
yeah,
like, you guys hang here, I will take the take the van with the tow truck, and we'll come back and pick you up because there like wasn't Uber and shit like that at the time.
yeah,
Um, yeah, crazy fun times. But stuff that like you know I I wouldn't change.
yeah,
Because
yeah. You
it's
remember it's a good story.
exactly, it ends up being a good story
Yeah,
later, but in the moment
yeah.
it's not super fun. So we've got looks like your homies in I Legion on YouTube saying, "Hey, that's my dude Matt. Cheers from Quebec."
Oh yeah, Fred.
And looks like our mutual homie. So funny story. Brian Stevens was in the band that was the precursor to Abiotic. So him and I played in a band together
Yeah.
called Behold the Ruins. And
Oh
he
yeah.
said, "Boys," and put a little heart. He drove for you guys, right? I think
He drove for what band? How am I not remembering this? He drove for a band on the last tour.
it was.
Um,
Oh shit!
I think he wanted to drive for us at some point, and that would be sweet because Brian's amazing.
He's the man. We did a tour with him
Yeah.
last year, and
Hmm.
I hadn't seen him in a while. But he's I lived in Miami. He was from roughly around the same area. And it's kind of how we got to jamming and stuff. And Brand of Sacrifice. He just commented it.
Yeah, Brand.
Um,
Yeah, sorry.
and sorry, Brian. And yeah, it was awesome to do a tour with him and kind of get his feet wet again in the touring game, and then he got to start doing all kinds
Yeah.
of cool shit. So and then COVID happened, but Brian, buddy,
Yeah.
it's gonna happen again, man. So I
Yeah.
know I know all the bands are waiting for you to get back into the game.
Yep.
So
We'll see you soon.
yeah. So let's take it back into Matt Perrin's musical journey here. So what kind of got you into playing music and playing guitar, and how did that kind of start out for you?
It was mainly my dad was showing me a bunch of like I wanted to start playing guitar. I had no idea who anybody
Yeah.
was in rock or metal or anything. And I remember asking my dad one day, like, who's a really good guitar player that, I can learn some stuff off of, and instantly he just goes Eddie Van Halen.
Nice. Yeah. Oh man.
So that's kind of started it for me. And that was, my love for heavier kind of rock and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And I was obsessed with Van Halen, and he was my hero.
Big same,
And
dude. Yeah.
yeah, so it's unfortunate, that he's not around anymore. But that kind of started my journey into playing guitar, and then I kind of got into heavier stuff, like Metallica, Megadeth, Trivium, Avenged Sevenfold, those kind of
Yeah.
bands, and then I got heavier and heavier. So, but yeah, I kind of focused on more being a technical player. I always just wanted to be able to do like flashy
Yeah.
stuff, and now everybody can do that. It's like whatever.
Right. Right.
But
Right.
when you're 14, 15, that's like the coolest thing ever.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. It sounds like you and I had like a little bit of a similar trajectory. So
Yeah.
same thing for me. Like early playing was like Eddie and Jimmy. That I see you got a picture behind you, and I was like,
Yeah.
I was the strange like 13-year-old kid who was into a bunch of classic rock, and I was like wearing
Hmm.
Jimi Hendrix shirts at 13. People were just like, why? And then I had a new metal phase, which I don't know if you did.
Hmm.
But
Yeah, a bit of one. Yeah.
Mudvayne and all those fun bands, and then
Yeah.
met some dudes that were just like, hey, I play guitar. I know you play guitar. There's no guitar solos in the music that you listen to. I don't know if you like noticed that. And I was like, holy shit. And they were like, yeah, anything that doesn't have a guitar solo, that music sucks. Stop listening to that. So
Yeah.
that's when I got into like Symphony X and Dream Theater, and then started
yeah.
listening to just the shredders, right? All the Shrapnel guys, and Vi, and Malmsteen, which you mentioned, and all those super inspirational dudes. And same deal. I was like, I want to be able, whatever Malmsteen's doing, I want to be able to do that. That like it just sounded absolutely impossible to that like whatever now that we know is a sweep, or some kind of economy pick shit that he was doing before. I was just like, how the
Yeah.
fuck do I do that? No, I haven't heard that before.
Yeah.
And then eventually got into heavier music too. So what would you say is like one of the first of like the heavier bands, like maybe more modern bands that you got into?
Probably Trivium.
Yeah.
I'd say it was like when Ascendancy kind of was out, so like early
Yeah.
Trivium. I think that was when I first started hearing more of the heavier vocals and mixed with singing too,
Right.
but it was mostly like kind of more brutal screaming and stuff. And then that was probably like the first heavier band that I listened to. Them, As I Lay Dying, and kind of like Bullet for My Valentine. Those
Yeah.
kind of three bigger bands. And then it got heavier, and like I started finding out about like Whitechapel, like early Thy Art Is Murder, like Cannibal Corpse, like all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it kind of changed the way I looked and approached guitar too. So I kind of wanted to play heavier stuff, and I was like, oh, I love the heaviness and how pissed off the guitar tone sounds. I want to have stuff like that, and picked up a 7-string, and that's kind of, where it transitioned to nowadays. And, a lot of those guys too, like you were mentioning, like John Petrucci and Steve Vai, those guys were big influences on me, and Jeff Loomis
Yeah,
too.
god damn it.
Yeah, yeah. And even guys now, like more modern guys like Brandon
Yeah.
Ellis, he's
Yep.
insane. He's one of the best guitar players I've seen live.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen him,
Yeah,
obviously with Black Dahlia. You've seen him a ton with Black Dahlia. I've seen him with
yeah,
Arsis. And
yeah,
I can't, it's one of those things that takes me back to like being 13 and 14 and listening to Malmsteen and saying, hey, how is that possible? I have that exact same feeling as a fucking 31-year-old man. Like, how is this guy playing all these songs and has his eyes closed? And
yeah. He's just
and
so
his
good.
guitar is so low. I like just so many
Yeah,
things vibrato. Like, I'm sure you and I can geek out on Brandon's playing like for another whole hour, but
yeah,
yeah, it's fucking awesome. It's
yeah.
I don't know how much of that
Yeah,
is.
it kind of brings it back.
No,
Sorry,
no,
go ahead.
no. Go ahead.
I was gonna say it kind of brings like the '80s vibe back too, which is awesome.
Yeah, yeah. He's like in the wrong era. Like he was born in the wrong era. Or
Yeah,
it's awesome that he's bringing it back because yeah, he's got the '80s like Becker kind of like thing to him, but then an awesome rhythm player as well, which we didn't get to see a whole lot
hmm,
from Jason. Um,
yeah,
So yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, we could talk about Brandon for an hour, but if for whatever reason you haven't heard of him or his playing, do yourself a favor and stop watching us. Well, you can come back to this. Just go watch Brandon's videos.
yeah,
So cool. So yeah, we covered
yeah,
music and some of your influences now. So do you remember
yeah.
how you got into joining bands and like knowing that you wanted to be on stage? Like what was your first show?
Yeah. I think it was in grade 7, 6 or 7. It was my middle school, and we had like kind of like a rock concert thing at the end of the year
Yeah.
or whatever. And I remember we were playing stuff from. Do you remember that band Silverchair? You ever heard of that
Silverchair.
band?
I don't think.
It was like a weird rock band.
I don't think so.
And then yeah, so we played like stuff like kind of heavier rock stuff, and then we played Van Halen because I wanted to shred some
Oh,
Van
sick.
Halen. But yeah, I remember it was in front of like all the parents in the class, and that was so intimidating at the time. And I remember that was like my first show. And then in high school, we actually had a theater. And end of the year, we would sell tickets. It was like a rock school kind of
Cool.
thing. Yeah, my teacher was amazing, and he ended up winning a Juno
No
Award, which is
shit.
like the Canadian
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, Canadian Grammys, yeah. But yeah, no, he's put a lot of like time and effort and love into that program, and at the end of the year, you play in front of a theater of like 300
Wow.
people when you're in high school. So that kind of was the point where I'm like, I really want to do
Yeah.
this for like that's what I feel like I'm meant to do, and then had bands out of high school, started gigging and stuff like that. And then I remember, one of my favorite bands was
Yeah.
Threat Signal when I was around 15, 16, something like that. And we ended up opening for them. And then my band ended up breaking up, and I kept in contact with Travis. And, I sent them a bunch of videos of me doing their songs. And hopefully I was like, hopefully this is good enough. And, I remember waking up one morning and Travis was like, "Yeah, so we're gonna bring you on tour. We're gonna fly you out." And
Dude.
it was the first tour I ever
No
did too.
shit.
So it was with, yeah. So we ended up touring with, it was Chimera, Dark Sermon, the Browning, and Threat Signal. So it was a weird
Yeah,
mix of
interesting
bands.
tour.
But yeah, it was amazing, and that was the first time I ever had toured in a van, slept in a van, and everything, and it was really kind of
Yeah.
intimidating because I felt like I was just some kid from a small town in Vancouver
Yeah.
area. So um, yeah, I ended up joining Threat Signal. We toured. We did pretty much 2 back-to-back tours. It was the Chimera one. Then we went to Europe with the Agonists
Wow.
like a couple months later, and yeah, that was like the point where I'm like, yeah, this is what I want
Yeah,
to
dude,
do.
especially with a start like that.
So
That's fucking
yeah.
awesome. That's, that's hard work and being ready for those opportunities when they come. So that's awesome.
Yeah, it was a lot of work, but it felt more just like, it didn't feel like work at the time too. It just kind of felt like I was doing something for me that I felt like I just needed to do. I don't know. It was a weird kind of
Yeah,
feeling.
yeah, but I mean, not
But
not too many guys
yeah.
get to say that. They were a huge fan of a band growing up, and then they fucking get to join the band.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say like, "Oh, it's like that movie
Oh yeah,
Rockstar."
yeah, you're
But
totally Mark Wahlberg.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but not even
You're
close.
basically Mark Wahlberg. Come on.
Yeah. Same kind of story, but like on a much, much smaller scale.
That's sick. So you
Yeah.
were you were in Threat Signal for about 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, it was around 6 years, and then Angelmaker kind of started getting busier with
Yep.
touring, and it was hard to split time between the two bands. So my friend Oswin ended up joining Threat Signal and taking my place in that band. But I was fortunate enough to do the last Threat Signal album
Oh,
with them,
awesome.
the last one they put out. So I'm really proud of that, to have my name on something like that, and that was a dream come true in itself, to
That's
just be
killer.
on an album with
Yeah.
them.
Who did you guys track with?
Yeah, we did Mark Lewis.
Nice.
Yeah.
How's that? Mark's the man.
But we all did it separately because we all live in um, like different parts of Canada or the
Yep.
States. So we just DI'd, and then everything got sent to
Nice.
Mark. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, Mark puts out some fucking killer records.
Yeah.
Hope to do something with him one day. That'd be awesome. So sweet. So do you have any standout tour shows when you were out with Threat Signal?
Yeah. I mean, that whole European tour was amazing because that was the first time I've ever been to
Yeah.
Europe too, and yeah, seeing a lot of the sites and stuff like the
Did you guys do a
Colosseum, and
bus?
like we did a bus. Yeah, so it was us, the Agonists, and uh, I think it was Morse Percipium S in the
Nice.
bus. So it was like the three of us, and yeah, it was awesome. First time being in a bus too, so it was like, holy shit.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, we had that same experience
Yeah.
when we went out with it was Suffocation and Cattle Decap, and that was
Yeah.
after about 3 years of doing the van and sleeping in the driver's seat if you were the last person to drive and shit
Yeah.
and that is only bus tour we ever did. But dude, just getting to just get a full night's sleep and just wake up in a new country, just like, oh man, is it time for loading
Yeah.
after my 8 to 10 hours of nice delicious rest that I got on a comfy little cot where all my stuff
Yeah.
lives in one place and I don't have to worry about getting moved or losing anything.
And you have showers at like every venue too,
Showers,
which is the best.
and the catering in Europe is fucking so amazing.
Yeah.
Canadian catering is pretty damn good as well. I will say, but it's not like I don't know if you guys played this venue. I think it was in Switzerland. The venue that like when you drive into the garage, it's like the bus and trailer sit on this platform and it like lifts it and spins it. Have you ever played that
Oh,
before?
no, I think I saw Archspire played a venue there recently or
Yeah.
something. But we never did that one. We did play Switzerland, but it was kind of like a really old looking theater. It was really cool looking
Oh,
though.
sweet.
But yeah, I mean, no, I've seen that kind of bus thing though. That's really cool.
Super wild. So I guess
Yeah.
Switzerland allocates X amount of their government's dollars to the arts. So they
Yeah.
pimp out these venues. So this one has that like crazy platform for the bus, so you don't have to like back it out. But the venues also have fully built kitchens and a staff for catering for bands. So like
They're doing it right.
nuts, dude. So we had like a fully presented meal by a chef. Like it was laid out on a table, like salmon and like freshly baked bread and pastries and like all kinds of shit. And like they sat us down in a room and the chef came out and like I felt like I was on a fucking like on a cooking show. Like he just came and presented the meal and explained like how long things had been simmering and you know, and how long they baked the bread freshly in house and they started yesterday and all kinds of shit. I was like, dude, I got Little Caesars on the last tour. Like,
And that was great.
yeah, right. And I was stoked.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's amazing, man. That's like you feel like you're a rock star when you get treated like that.
yeah. And then like I said, you come back to the US and they're like, here's $5 for buyout. There's a fucking Taco Bell across the street. Not
Yeah.
that Taco Bell doesn't
You're
hit the
like, okay,
spot.
sweet.
But...
Yeah.
So
I mean, yeah, it's definitely different over there. So they're doing it right.
yeah. So I hope you you know, I hope you guys get to go back in January. So I really hope that shit works out for you guys.
Mhm.
So what are some bands on your playlist currently? Anything that you're jamming for, like, from like some newer kind of, you know, newer bands you can put some people on?
Um, oh man, to be honest, it's a lot of bands that are kind of already well off
Yeah.
right now. But I've been jamming the newest Shadow
Oh
album
yeah.
still. Um, I've been jamming the last Korn album. I really love
Okay.
that one. The new Deftones album. Um, yeah, the new Dahlia album too. I love that one. And I've been kind of just jamming a lot of older Van Halen stuff too recently. It's
Yeah.
been a very yeah, it's been a very Van Halen heavy month, I
Oh
guess,
wow.
so
For
far.
most of
But
us, I'm sure.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, I guess like as far as that goes, it's mainly just, stuff already people would know. Um but yeah, I know there's a lot of great bands out there that I have been checking out. I mean, like there's Gamma Sector, that's
Nice.
amazing. Their vocalist is very young too. I remember doing a track with them too,
Oh
and
sweet.
they're super talented. They're young dudes and they're killing it. Um, but yeah, there's so many bands out there. It's kind of hard to keep track of now.
Yeah, it is. I
Yeah,
definitely can agree with that sentiment, and that's kind of why I like to do this part of the show, which is kind of like, what's on your playlist,
yeah,
to, for my personal benefit, to kind of pick up on some new bands and stuff. And I think
yeah.
it's always pretty cool to see what, you know, so that folks that listen to you get to know what you've been jamming. So
Hmm.
I did see a cool, and I always botch the pronunciation of this guitar company. So I did see you're jamming a sick Aristides. Did I?
Yeah. You can call it. I think they say Aristides,
Aristides.
something like that. I don't really know how to fully pronounce it.
Okay, I don't feel so bad.
Yeah, yeah.
So
It's
are you
Dutch,
still
so
jamming that company, or what are you jamming?
I've mostly been playing
Oh,
comparisons
sick.
for a while now. But yeah, I still have my Aristides, and they're amazing guitars. I love them. I tracked their last album with an Aristides too.
Nice.
So yeah, I've been playing both companies. Like it's kind of hard to choose like a favorite guitar when they're so different.
Yeah.
But my main guitar now is I have this Comparison 7 string that was a one-off that they built, and it's all blacked out. And the body's like a matte black, but it's got like a weird texturing on it,
Ooh.
almost like a rhino lining from like a truck bed.
Damn. Sick.
Yeah. But so that's been like my main guitar, and I've been mainly playing comparisons for the past, I'd say maybe like 2 years now. But I was with them also in 2013 and played all the threat signal stuff with comparison, and they've just treated me very well. So
That's awesome. Yeah,
yeah.
they're super sick. I think I remember seeing them for the first time. I think Michael Romeo from Symphony X was playing them, or is playing them.
Hmm.
I know.
Yeah, he has a signature.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so he is. So he was playing ESP, and then he went to Comparison.
Hmm.
And yeah, I was like, fuck, I gotta try one of those. I don't think I've ever even played one before. So I think, I don't know, whenever NAM is a thing again, I guess
Yeah.
I have to pass by the booth, or whenever you come to town, I can just play yours.
Yeah. Yeah, you can definitely play mine. Play all of them.
Yeah, I think I've seen some pictures, and you've got quite a collection.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been, oh man, that's like one part of quarantine too. It's like, oh, wanting to buy guitars all the
Oh
time,
no.
but not having money to do
Too
it.
much time to
Yeah.
scroll and
Um,
see sick guitars that you want to buy.
yeah. Yeah. And I mean, another one that I've been trying out lately is one of my friends lent me his Strandberg, and I've never really played a
Oh,
Strandberg
cool.
before. So, yeah, that's a pretty cool guitar. It's very tiny too. So
Yeah, yeah.
that's something I've been kind of just tracking with and kind of messing around with too.
That's
So,
awesome. Does it have that I forget exactly what they call it, but that I've played a couple of them before and it's got that interesting like neck shape.
yeah, that trapezoid neck
Yeah,
shape.
what do you remember
So,
what's that's called? That's called something specific.
the Endure
There it
neck.
is. Yep.
That's what it's
Yep,
called.
yep, yep.
Yeah. But yeah, it's weird to get used to, but it totally makes sense. I mean, it's kind of just to keep your thumb in
Yeah.
place so you don't have sore hands, I
Yeah.
guess. But yeah, it's pretty cool guitar as well. But I mean, as far as like what my favorites are, it's probably just comparisons feel right for me. They fit my hands perfectly, and that's just kind of the guitars I've always got along with the most. I feel like they're custom made for me in a way.
Nice. That's a great
Yeah.
feeling when you can kind of find that instrument or that company
Hmm.
that's just like this is perfect. So
Yeah.
that's dope. What else is your rig looking like these days? Do you have like a fly rig and then something that you have for Canadian dates, or is that one in the same or?
Yeah, so usually when we do shows that are, I guess we have a smaller time frame to play. I'll try and just bring my Axe 8, which is just covers everything.
Yeah,
It's so small. It's the whole pedal board's like this
right.
big. That for Europe as well. And then if I can get away with it, I'll use my Rev head, and I have a whole pedal board with like Airs effects and
Nice.
a bunch of stuff like that. So I have a Rev head and a Black Star 212. It's just
Sick.
a lot easier to take a 212 than a 412
Yeah, yeah,
everywhere.
yeah. It's another one
Yeah.
of those things you learn after doing lots of tours. I feel like
Yeah.
from the first tour, probably the first or second tour we did, we had like full stacks and we're just like obnoxious. And then like every tour thereafter, from my rig to how much shit I brought with me on a tour, was
Hmm.
decreased exponentially. So it's like went to the half stack, went digital, started doing no cab, just taking the Kemper and going DI. I went to like having like
Yeah.
a giant suitcase to like a smaller one. Now I really just like take a backpack and maybe like a duffel bag.
Yeah. And that saves you so much time setting up
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and you're with Kiesel as well, right?
Yeah, I'm working with Kiesel,
Yeah.
and just started working with them, and it's been awesome. I really love their guitars, and um, I've been on a headless kick since maybe for a few years now, and that's been
Hmm.
great. Just because I for me like I'd always kind of get this like kind of pain in my left shoulder, just
Hmm.
playing so many shows and maybe I was playing guitars that like didn't have chambered bodies, which so it made them a little bit heavier. Maybe I'm a bitch, whatever. But ever since I went headless, like I haven't had that issue. That
Yeah.
soreness kind of stopped happening, and I just think they fucking look cool.
Yeah. It's just when you're playing and you're used to tuning, your hand kind of goes,
Right,
oh
right, right.
shit.
Yeah, yeah. Had to get used to that, and I don't think that technology's like been perfected just yet. I don't think anybody's got that tuning at the bottom perfect yet. It's damn close though. It's
Yeah.
damn close.
Yeah. You can make it work
Yeah,
really
yeah,
well.
yeah. What I am interested in seeing in the future is seeing who's going to figure out a floating multi-scale bridge.
Yeah. With a trem or
Right, right,
something.
exactly. A multi-scale with a trem.
Yeah.
I've been.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Sorry, of course, because you said multi-scale with
Yeah, yeah,
floating. Yeah,
yeah.
that makes sense.
But yeah, that was the reason that I had a multi-scale guitar, and I was like, oh, this is cool, but I need a trem, and I had a guitar. I didn't have a guitar with a trem for like a year or two or something, and I was just like, I can't do this. um,
Hmm. Yeah, I'm the same way. Yeah, I have trems on everything, like Floyd's on everything, and it's a pain to
yep.
restring, but it's just so much more stable on tour. I don't have to worry about tour, and I'm sure you're the exact same, right?
Yeah, exactly. It makes it much more stable, and you get to do all the cool, fun dives and flutters and like all that stuff that like can create lots of personality in your playing. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like being able to really have your own voice, which kind of like you said before, where um, your goal when you're young is to be a flashy player, learn all like play as fast as you can and learn all the licks that like so you can impress people. And then later the reason you realize the reason that you like all these players so much is because they have a distinct voice, and it's
Yeah,
not even necessarily a lot of times it's technical ability, but it's in tandem with them being able to be recognized without you even knowing that they're playing.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. Whether it's like tone or like technique or phrasing,
Right.
or, yeah. But yeah, there's some guys you can just instantly tell it's them.
Exactly. Like Brandon with his
Yeah,
vibrato. Nobody else has a
yeah,
vibrato like that right now.
yeah. Pretty ridiculous.
Yeah. I'm trying, but not succeeding. Um,
We're all trying.
yeah, I feel like.
But you're a great guitar player, man.
Oh,
Like
thank
all
you,
the
man.
lead stuff you did on the last album was amazing.
Oh, dude, that means so much, man. I
Yeah,
didn't even know
yeah.
you'd listen to it. So,
Oh yeah.
I am gonna do the thing that I've been trying to hold off on for a long time, and I will gladly send you our record, so you can jam it and
Oh,
let me know what you
thank you,
think.
man.
And I don't know if anybody from the label gets mad or is listening. Too bad. Um,
Oh, sorry.
whoops. So
Yeah,
so Matt, where can
yeah.
folks find your band? Any other projects you might be a part of? Where can they find you on the social medias?
On the social medias, okay. Well, my personal one is m_Perrin11. So you can find me on Instagram, and you can find Angelmaker on pretty much everything. It's either Angelmaker or Angelmaker Band. So I believe we're Angelmaker Band on Instagram, and then Angelmaker you can just type in the search bar in Facebook and YouTube, Spotify, everything.
Killer. And
Yeah.
so most recent release was the full length, or excuse me,
Mm-hmm.
the oh man, god damn it, the words leaving me. The self-titled, and what
Self-titled.
how many of the releases did you guys have before that? I didn't see too many when I was doing my detective research on you.
So yeah, we have two full lengths, and we have, I believe, three split
Oh, cool.
EPs. Or sorry, no, sorry, three EPs, two of them being a split.
Rad. Okay.
Yeah.
And those
So
are all
yeah.
on
So there's,
Spotify and all that good stuff.
I believe they should be. Yeah, I think we're on everything at this point, which is good to have.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been a part of the band since we did Dissension. So from that record on is when I joined the
Oh,
band.
killer. And that's
Yeah.
been for a while now. So after,
Yeah.
did you have like a
2014, I
14? So
think.
there was some overlap with Threat Signal
Yeah.
and Angelmaker for a while. Nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a couple of years. So that's the one thing I was kind of worried about is like tours overlapping.
Yeah.
I'm like, how am I going to be able to do this?
Yeah. And then you got guys like Bryce Butler who are in 12 bands. I'm just like, how do you
I
do
don't.
that? I'm stressed out
Yeah.
being in one band.
Oh, I know. Yeah, he's insane. He's in like, I remember one time I was like, how many bands are you in? He's like, I'm in 13
Yep.
bands.
And like
I'm like,
straight
what?
face, right? Like
Yeah.
11, 13. It's about 13.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh,
I'm like,
huh,
what?
cool. When do you sleep?
Yeah.
'Cause it,
Yeah. He kicks ass though, man. He busts his ass
he's
so
such a great
hard
guy.
and
I just
just
had him on.
works.
He's such a good guy, man. I love that
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah. He's a
I
great
hope
dude.
you get to tour with him in January because yeah, he's playing drums
Oh, yeah.
for Shadow of Intent, and
Yeah.
definitely deserves it and is such a good guy. So Bryce, if you're watching or if you
Yeah.
watch this later, I love you again. So I know I told you recently, but
Yeah.
I'm just telling you again.
Yeah.
Matt, thank you so
We
much.
love you.
Thank you so much for taking the time, man, for being
Yeah.
on the last episode before a hiatus that we're going to take, and for being patient with me and being cool with rescheduling. I very, very much appreciated. And I promise the next one will be more professionally booked and all the good stuff around that. So
Yeah, yeah. No, man. It's been great, and thank you for asking me to be on it.
yeah,
It's been a pleasure
yeah,
talking.
likewise, man. So hopefully after all
Yeah.
this, we can get some shows in together. I certainly hope so. I have heard some inklings from our team, and I've seen your guys' name thrown around in it for some stuff. So hopefully we can make it happen. And wish you guys nothing but success and having a great fucking time tracking the new record. And I'm very
Yeah.
much looking
Thanks,
forward to
man.
hearing it. And like I said, again, I really fucking hope you guys get out to Europe and set it off and show everybody how it's done and that things can happen in the countries that do this and handle the pandemic in the right way. So
Yeah. Yeah, and best of luck to you with the new release as well, man.
thank you. Thank you so much. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us. Again, this has been the Big Shred Podcast. I'm John Matos. You're hanging out with Matt Perrin and myself, Matt from the band Angelmaker. Be sure to check his band out and keep an eye on the Big Shred Facebook page for further updates on when we're coming back. But until then, I will see you guys soon. Take care.
See ya.
All righty.